Simon, we have this category which is corporate identity, and we use this name for anything that you don't pay for, basically. So from a business card to a poster of, you know, of a concert, or a financial report, or a brochure. So is things that help you imagine something or help you remember something, but you know, it's not around a product. I mean, it is, but you know, it's free. It's freebies. And these are the artifacts that we've seen less of, perhaps, in this pandemic year, because people have had the habit of just, you know, choosing something online and, you know, losing your sight on, you know, big sets of data.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they have gone into hiding slightly, but I think this is an amazing category because I think there's a lot more scope.
Yeah.
Are we waiting for the slides?
Yeah, well, they are there, but they're not on the tiny screen.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot more scope, I think, in this category. So why don't we just look at a few? So this is the theatre, the set of season brochures for a theatre company, and what we see is a black cover, beautifully printed with silver ink, and then each season has a different coloured paper inside, like these. And the black cover is quite heavy. The inside pages are thin, too thin, and in fact, I gather we're not allowed to use the word trend here today, but there's a definite trend towards printing on ultra-thin paper. Almost, you know, show through. The idea of seeing what's happening on the reverse was a terrible thing. Now it's completely acceptable.
So many years of printers giving us hard times because you had some see-through. Now everyone wants see-through.
I think you have to embrace the see-through, don't you?
Yeah.
And what's great about these theatre brochures is, you know, it is a coloured paper, and it is black ink and one other colour, and they are dramatic and they are bold. And I don't know if we've got we haven't got the third one. We'll go back. There's a season that's missing. You probably saw it right at the beginning. April to June cancelled, and they've embraced that too.
Oh, wow.
So actually, you can see the cancel line through the type, and then inside the pages are blank because there was no theatre during that point in the pandemic.
That's very beautiful and dramatic.
It's a theatrical response, I think, to the situation. And we'll see other things too, like this next job, which are about resources. And I think, you know, there was a time when colour printing was special. And I think we have to acknowledge now that colour printing is not special anymore. So we see lots of people not using full colour printing. You know, it's been talked about earlier, a lot of these corporate jobs. Now, this is another example, which is the kind of flexible corporate identity. So again, this is a company called Sculpt, and what we see is this letter S, which morphs and transforms from business card to business card. And, you know, there was a time when everybody expected their business card to be exactly the same and to be white. But here, they're different. They're different sizes, they're different orientations, and they're different paper colours. Of course, sorry, I was going to mention the paper. They're different paper colours. All good, all very good Fedrigoni paper colours. And they're printed in a mixture of black and white. And then here we see that this is a Sculpt brochure, and again we see this S morphing on the different brochure fronts. And you know, this job is, we talk about, you know, creativity and things. This job exemplifies the thing that the little secret that we haven't mentioned a lot today, which is graphic design. This is actually a really smart piece of graphic design. You know, one could imagine this just being, you know, a cover and a title on the front, but instead this morphing S responding to the content. I mean, this is what a graphic designer
and also
brings
this
to a
gives
solution.
You the idea of a real company.
Yes.
With Some gravitas somehow.
All these things are about making things a bit more real on a flat screen. I think we've all discovered during the pandemic what we can do online, and we've probably all discovered the sort of limit of what you can do online. Everything is a little bit, we've got moving image, it's colourful. You can buy moving image stock photography in the same way you can buy conventional stock photography. It's very easy to put something together online that makes it look like, your one-person bakery business is in fact the biggest, baker in Europe. And it's a bit flat, and strangely, it's a bit like another business. And I completely believe in physical things and in paper and in graphic design defining jobs. This is a fantastic little job. This is license information, a mattress reseller. It's printed in black. It's digital as well on another kind of digital press. What's amazing about the job is the paper colour. They are metallic Fedrigoni papers, and the metallic paper and the combinations when you simply have one page facing another.
It's always a nightmare. I'm always amazed at how
the paper,
printers and binders can.
They're just stapled. They're just folded and stapled pages, and the paper makes the job. Plus, the bold graphics, but essentially what's making this job is the gold paper butting up against silver paper, I think. This is another kind of thing you can't do on screen, which is about textures. So here for Cavalleria Delgado, we've got a symbol that's a mixture of sort of free-form blind embossing, and there's a very crisp gold outline square, gold outline white center on the front. And I think it just reminds you that you don't have to use type, you can use pattern, and you can just simply use foiling and blind embossing to make something, to make something physical. Memorable, yes. This is another use of technology. So this is a calendar, and a calendar printed with elements of ultraviolet ink, so that when you expose it to ultraviolet light, it looks like this. That's a whole other world that's developing, is the world that's beyond CMYK. It's being able to lay down, obviously, metallic inks, but fluorescent inks, and coatings too. The whole world of sort of gloss coatings and matte coatings, and the combination of the two. This job for Golden Moments, it's large format, and it's literally folded pages. It's not even stapled. And it's a whole series of different posters. And so what's wonderful about it, if I can make it change, is that all these posters are folded together. So when you flip through it in its folded form, you have this amazing combination of completely different projects facing each other. So you get metallic, lush photos facing black and white type. It's a really incredibly simple idea, a bit like that license brochure. Just the power of folding paper and the way you assemble it. And then, just in case everybody thinks that I'm completely against using resources, occasionally, so this is a brochure for Kempinski hotels, and they've used all the tools that are available. It's a case-bound book. It's got a blind embossed, and a really nice bit of blind embossing. You're not hanging around there, really
hard
stamping
cover.
it in. It has different page widths and different paper textures. So you have, the rich four-color pictures on coated stock, and then you have transparent pages for maps and interleaving. And so, this is a book that makes a narrative by its use of materials. And I think that's the exciting thing, isn't it? We can have this, which is, clearly a four-color job with a big budget.
It's a big statement to be in every Kempinski room.
Exactly.
This is it.
Exactly.
Do you think that the hospitality and the tourism hotel sector, we've seen some changes, menus have in some instances disappeared, in some others they are in, terrible plastic cases and so on. Brochures are mainly online. And then there is plethora of single-use plastic. Maybe I think we had
Is this time for your the shaming picture?
Yeah, the shaming picture. Many of us are hosted at the lovely Una Hotel nearby, and there is a shower of single-use plastic, and sometimes there is plastic within plastic, because you open these pockets and you find that the final thing that you need is wrapped into another thing.
Well, I mean, the irony here is, I think, is the plastic cup wrapped up in the plastic bag.
Yes,
which
but
I understand all the reasons.
But there is more irony in a little note that says that you're going to help the Earth, the planet, survive more if you don't use your towels.
We're both in danger of not being let into our rooms later on.
I think so.
That little plastic key that I've got will be turned off.
That would be demagnetized.
But it's slightly sad that a really, very nicely designed and built hotel actually, pretty much for me, everything about what you see here is it's not as good as the hotel. It's not.
It's all in the name of brand identity, because clearly all these pieces come from different Asian manufacturers, and then you need to wrap them up to make them look like a brand. But
yes, and they don't look like a brand, but also they don't have the mindset of a brand that's trying to say, we understand the pandemic, but there are things you can do with paper and with other materials that are more sophisticated than a Ziploc plastic bag.
Totally. Couldn't agree more. Is there any questions to this section on brochures, financial reports? Oh, yes. Do you think the use of corporate identity materials should increase now that we are all turning digital, or is it not so interesting anymore? Well, we kind of answered to that, probably. But if there is any
I think it's just changing, isn't it? So there'll be some kinds of corporate identity material that you no longer print, but there'll be other things, perhaps things we don't already have, that you will produce, I think. And I think people will get very bored with. I'm already bored with kind of, fintech companies, and for me, all our identities are all the same. And they're all online, and they're indistinguishable to me. So at some point, somebody will come along and go, well, actually, we're going to do this printing.
When you have to choose something really expensive or something that will last for quite some time, for example, Michaela has recently been redoing her home, and there were catalogs and things. So when you choose something like, you've got to have a new wooden floor or things like that, do you think that that's the kind of choice that people need a catalogue for, to ask their family about that? Or
if I was going to buy a wooden floor, I'd go to a showroom.
Yeah, because you would need to see the real thing.
I don't, it's better in a printed brochure than it is online, but neither actually compete with actually
the
physically.
Real thing.
Yeah, I think in a way, online is fantastic sometimes for clearly predictable things and repeat things. I love shops. I'm waiting to get into that shop out there and spend far too much money on a lot of good design books.
But the good thing is that everything that we've seen here flipping through the screen is actually physically out there at the exhibition. So, thank you very much.